and welcome to Rajput Jain and Associates. Today we will discuss about stockbroker registration. So, first of all, it is important to know the meaning of stockbroker. A stockbroker is a middleman who has the authority to buy and sell stocks and securities in a stock exchange on behalf of its clients. As we all know, the stocks are traded through exchanges only. However, an investor cannot directly trade in stock exchanges. Thus, to undertake buying or selling of stock through exchanges, an investor is required to register with an intermediary who will help them undertake this transaction. Now, having discussed about the meaning of stockbroker, we come to the registration requirement of stockbroker. So, in order to operate a stockbroker, the proposed entity is required to obtain registration with SEBI. However, where the person is already admitted as a member in one of the stock exchanges operating in India, then no separate registration is required under SEBI. But for stockbroker business, they would be required to obtain approval from the stock exchange with which the entity is registered. Next, we come to the registration process of stockbrokers. So, first of all, an application for registration of stockbroker is required to be made. For the grant of stockbroker license, the applicant shall make an application in Form A and submit the same with the stock exchange where it wishes to take registration. On receipt of application, the stock exchange shall forward the same to the Securities and Exchange Board of India with 30 days from the date of receipt of application. After this, the board might ask the applicant to furnish certain clarification or information in respect of dealings in securities and matter connected thereto to consider the application for grant of certificate. Where such an inquiry is raised by the board, the applicant or its principal officer would be required to appear before the board for personal representation. After receiving the clarification, the board shall consider the grant of certificate only after having clarity regarding the matters related to buying, selling, or dealing in securities. Also, the board is required to ensure whether the stockbroker is eligible to be admitted as a member of stock exchange, whether he has the necessary infrastructure like adequate office space, equipment, and manpower to effectively discharge his activities. Has any past experience in the business of buying or selling of dealing in securities? Is he subject to disciplinary proceedings under the rules, regulation, and bylaws of a stock exchange with respect to his business as a stockbroker, involving either himself or any of his partners, directors, or employees, and whether he fulfills the fit and proper criteria. Now, once the board is satisfied that the stockbroker is eligible for registration, the board shall grant a certificate in Form D to the stockbroker and send an intimation to that effect to the respective stock exchange. Now, for obtaining stockbroker license from SEBI, the applicant entity is required to comply with certain conditions. So, the registration can be granted provided the stockbroker holds the membership of any stock exchange. Also, the entity shall abide by the rules, regulation, and bylaws of the stock exchange which are applicable to him. Where the stockbroker proposes to change his status or constitution, he shall obtain prior approval of the board for continuing to act as such after the change. The entity shall pay fees charged by board on timely manner, and also the entity shall take adequate steps for redressal of grievances of the investor within 1 month of the date of receipt of the complaint. Lastly, we come to the post-registration requirement of a stockbroker. First of all, the stockbroker is required to hold the stock exchange trader membership. After this, the broker is required to adhere to all the applicable rules, regulation and bylaws of respective stock exchange. In case the entity undertakes any change in control of management, the stockbroker must communicate the same to the board. Also, the registered broker shall make the payment of all the applicable fees on time. All the investor grievances must be addressed within 1 month from the date of their receipt, and also a report in respect of the same to be submitted to the board periodically. The stockbroker is required to abide with the code of conduct as specified in Schedule 2 of the regulation. Also, the stockbroker is always required to maintain minimum net worth requirement. So, this was all about stockbroker registration. Thank you for watching this video.